Moving on, let's talk about practice exams, which is the third step that you need after you complete your PSPs. When you are taking a practice exam, make sure that it is the same match for your Texas certification exam, which you are going to be seeking approval for. You do have to have a minimum of a passing score of 240. That is that magic number we need, which means it's a percentage score of 80%. Certain exams will contain written responses or a constructed response portion, so keep that in mind. But make sure you submit that score report that shows your name, the exam name as well, the final score, and that it shows that it's being reported as either a scale or a percentage, because I do look at the data. So this is a quick link to our state assessment website, which will show you practice exams and resources that are available to help you prepare for your exams. But you should be using your REA manual. So here are some visuals of what the practice exams and those report images look like. The first one is from your REA manual, which you purchased for this course. You've paid for it. It comes with free codes. I believe it's 2 free codes in your manual that you can log on to take a practice exam. Not a diagnostic tool. This is a separate thing from what's available on your book. It's a practice exam. So what I'm looking for is this breakdown of the component. I need to see the name of the exam, what your percentage was, and what your total score is. So for instance, in this one, you're 92% strong in the PPR. I would grant you approval with that type of report. Other resources that are available at a discounted rate for students, you can purchase in addition if you want, are through Certified Teacher or 240 Tutoring. These are 2 resources that help you prepare with modules, practice questions, and resources for your PPR or the content area, but they also offer practice exams. Another one is the Exam Edge. Again, this is only just a practice exam that you can use for, but it's very useful as well. Lastly, we have the Pearson practice exam for $10. I highly encourage our students to use this one. You will see this one for PPR in this course specifically, but I recommend the Pearson practice exams because they are the makers of the actual certification exam, so it's a little bit closer aligned to the question format and the rationales. But again, you're limited to what's available because they only offer it for the PPR, the STR, the BTLPT, and I believe the math 7 through 12. So there's very few that are offered versus these other resources which offer most of them as well. So keep that in mind. This is how you're going to send it to your state assessment coordinator through a PDF or a document form. So download that certificate. Do not send a screenshot. I will not accept it. It has to be in a document format. Once that is received, you will get your approval email from me. If all those requirements have been met, remember, PSP, you are in the TEP program. You've completed your TCED 4100, 4102, and I have your practice exams with a 240 or 80% or higher, then you will be receiving this email, which is your email registration confirmation. Very generic. It tells you specifically you have 1 attempt, you've been approved, the name and the number of that exam. It tells you where to click on to register. Once you register and you take your exams, then you email them back to the coordinator as well as your advisor, whether you pass or fail. And that's pretty much it. That's your final step in getting that approval. So how do you register for a test? Again, you have to visit that Pearson testing website. Create an account, which is through the nesting link that I have talked about in the previous slides. Be careful because, again, not all exams are offered year-round. You do have to make an appointment. It is first come, first serve. You're limited also if you're taking the BTLPT or the STR or the ELAR 438, 7 through 12 because, again, they're not offered everywhere and they have writing portions. So please read carefully over these steps when you are registering for that exams. If you need help on the order of what to take them, again, refer back to this PowerPoint or you can always reach out to your advisor to help you as well as myself. But what should you expect throughout these testing facilities and on your first experience? Please keep in mind, it is important for you to know you have to arrive 15 minutes prior to your appointment because they do check. They look for your identification, make sure you're matching your name and your last name. So always bring at least 2 forms of identification. If you have changed your name since you first started in the program and you created your TEA account, remember you have to have that match your ID, and it has to match how you're registered for that exam. So if you've had a recent name change, keep in mind that it does take about 12 days or more for the system to process that and change your name legally in that system. So it can affect you. I've had some students say in the past that they weren't able to take it because of the discrepancy in their last names. You may be fingerprinted or photographed before you're admitted to the test room. I haven't had a student say this has happened yet, but I know I've heard of specific situations depending on where you're going to get your exam taken at. You are not allowed to bring anything in the room with you at all, even cell phones. You will get a little locker outside. You will leave everything in there. You are allowed to take frequent breaks if you need to, mental breaks, restrooms. Just remember, it does count as your testing time because you do not pause the exam. You just stop, go do your thing, and then come back. If you are taking the math 7 through 12, you are allowed to use a graphing calculator, but it's only on specific sections of the exam, so keep that in mind as well. Once you finish your exams, typically it takes about 3 to 5 days after you take your exam to get your scores. Normally they are released by Wednesday and Friday. I believe Wednesday and Friday mornings around 9, 10 in the morning, you should receive a notification in your email whether you have passed or failed. But by 10 p.m. at night, you should get the actual score report, which tells you specifically what your scores are, what your domains you failed or you passed in, okay? So keep that in mind. Once that is received, you send that over to your state assessment coordinator and your advisor, okay? Now, again, remember, if you're taking an exam that has a constructive writing response, it takes longer to report. The BTLPT, the ELAR 7 through 12, and the Science of Teaching Reading take 3 to 4 weeks to score. So you may not get those right away within the same month that you tested. So keep that in mind. You can also look at the score reports that are available through the Pearson website. You can also request a score review as well through there. So keep that all in mind. And exam takers who do not pass, you can also request a score review for the following exams, which are only the BTLPT, ELAR 7 through 12, and the STR. Again, friendly reminder, just send your scores to the state assessment and advisor whether you pass or fail. But if you don't pass on your first attempt, it is important for you to know the policy for retesting. So let's talk a little bit about that. If you do not pass, it is a 30 calendar day waiting period that is imposed by TEA. You have to sit and wait for 30 days in order to be granted that second approval or third approval if necessary. The candidates have to have approval for each registration for their exam. So if you have to retest, this is what you have to do in the following order. You are only allowed 5 attempts by the state for each exam. Okay, so keep that in mind. You have 5 tries. That's it. For instance, if you are taking the core subjects exams, all of those areas have to be passed. But if you fail 1 or 2 individually, then you're just going to retest on those areas that you failed. So for instance, if you take the 391 and you pass ELAR, you pass math, you pass science, those are 3 exams, right, within the EC through 6, but you failed the social studies and the fine arts, health, and the PE section, then you would only retest on those 2 areas that you failed. You bypass the other areas that you have passed. So this would only count as your second attempt for these 2 exams. So keep that in mind because every time you're retesting, it is pricey. Each exam is around $100. And even though they give you 5 attempts to pass that exam, that is each time you having to pay for that exam as well. So if you don't pass on your first attempt or second or third, you do have to request a meeting with me. We can do it virtual, we can do it over the phone, however you'd like. But what we do during those 30 days that you are retesting is we're going to set up an intervention and a plan of action. I discuss the data on the scores, we share resources, I look at what you've been using in the past, I look at those domains, I look at your strengths and weaknesses, but the main goal is to set a plan for the next 30 days to retest. Once that is ready, you're going to create a new PSP, send it over of that new exam that you're preparing for to retest. Then I will send you over a voucher code to take a second practice exam for free. So in those 30 days, that is what you are completing. I highly recommend that you document everything. Keep copies of everything. Don't delete your emails. If you are, old-fashioned and you like that hard copy of a binder, save it. If you prefer electronically, then make sure you have a secure driver to save all your information. This includes transcripts, score reports, practice exams, PSPs, any emails you and I have back and forth of communication, applications, anything like that. Just stay organized, be proactive. It is important for you to know your policy for the exams and know who to contact if you are successful or unsuccessful with. Also keep track of your scores. Make sure you are always including your U of H ID on all communications, whether you're emailing me, your advisors, or you're submitting documentations. Now in this slide, this is one that I like to share with everybody just to kind of give you a visual of what you should be preparing on from now until you start your last semester of your internship 2, which is when you're going to be graduating. Depending on when you start internship 2, your deadline may be the June 1st or January 1st deadline. Either way, create goals because the goal is to have these exams passed. Reach out to your advisor or myself if you need a planning guide. I don't mind helping you set up, but I can guarantee you your advisors also are very knowledgeable. So let's look at this example. This is an example of one of our candidates, one of our students that is just like you, finishing up TCED 4100 this semester in the summer, right? And so if you look at her planning guide, she sat down with her advisor and they mapped out very important points of when they should be studying and taking an exam. So this student in the fall 2022 will be preparing for the PPR. They're going to take this semester in the fall to study, prep, and pass that PPR exam. Hopefully it'll work out for them and they'll pass. By the spring semester, not only are they going to be applying for their internship, but they're also going to be studying and preparing for their ESL exam. Yes, in addition to that, they're also going to school full-time, but keep in mind, that is exactly what you're going to be doing too. Summer semester, you have the months of June and July. The student is also taking some classes, but you know what? She's going to focus also on passing those 5 sections of the core subjects, EC through 6. So again, she's got 2 months. She's going to take that one exam for 5 parts and hopefully pass it. By the fall semester, they're going to come back in 2023. Their next exam they're going to be taking is to pass the STR, that reading exam. So in reality, this student has 4 semesters, 4 exams to prepare for. And the reason that's recommended is because if they have to retest at any point, you have those months and those semesters to retest if you need to. Because her overall goal is she's going to be graduating in spring 2024. That means her deadline is January 1st to pass all those exams before entering and starting that semester when she graduates. So again, this is just an example. Remember, your exam dates and sites fill up quickly. You must wait 30 days between appointments. So that is why a timeline is very crucial. Make sure you complete and understand the policy requirements before testing. And again, if you need any assistance from any of us, assessment coordinator or your advisors, please feel free to reach out.